الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفر ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Today we are on lesson, what is this? 9, Tasi'. The ninth lesson, lesson number 9. Lesson number 9. We call Ad-Darsu Tasi'. Ad-Darsu, everybody say this. Ad-Tasi'. That's how we say it in Arabic. Ad-Darsu Tasi'. It's the 9th lesson, and we're doing the Arabic language. We're studying the Arabic language from a technical perspective, giving a general outline of the whole language, and in it, we're picking up a lot of the little pointers that you don't find anywhere else, inshallah ta'ala. The first thing that we wanted to go again and break through is that the Arabic language is made up of speech, right? That's what any language is. It's built up on words. How many types of words are there? Three types of words. Kalam is called speech. Everybody say kalam. That's called speech. You can say kalam and you can say kilam. But can you say kulam? No. Kilam, say kilam. And kalam with a fatha, both of those mean speech. But if you say kulam, that means what? Who remembers that? It means a hard ground. Everybody says kulam means a hard ground. What kilam and kalam, that's speech. How many types of speech are there in Arabic? Three types of speech. And you see this when you write a word and you put a fatha and a kasra, or a fatha and a dhamma. What that means is both of those are correct. Okay? So if you see this in a book when you're reading, there's not a mistake. It's not a typo. That means that both of those can be said. Does that make sense? Okay, so there are three types of speech. What are they? Ismun, fi'lun, harfun. What is an ismun? Supernoun. But what is it? Is a technical term. What is it?
The word that points to a meaning in and of itself.
It is kalimatun dallat ala ma'na fi nafsiha wa lam taqtaran bi zaman. It is a word that points to a meaning. What?
In and of itself.
In and of itself. What does that mean? In and of itself.
Does not need another word to explain what it is.
Give me one word. Independent.
And
Right. It has, that meaning that it, in and of itself means independent. It has a meaning independent of other words. Okay? I keep going over this over and over again to give you different ways of understanding the same concept. The meaning of a word, an ismun or a supernoun, is that it is a word that has a meaning independent of other words. Right? And it's not connected to time frame. Okay? So a word like that would be, like he said, a hand, right? Right? Uskutna إذا كنتم اقتربنا اقتربنا مني لا لا اجلس أمام النساء. So a hand, right? Because hand has a meaning independent of any other word, right? The meaning of hand only points to that thing that we recognize at the end of our wrist, right? Okay, so what is a fi'lun?
it's an action word.
An action word. Dun, 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 action word. What is an action word?
The word points to the meaning
A word that points to a meaning
in and of itself.
in and of itself. However, this word is connected to a time frame, right? So it's different from a supernoun, like hand. It has its own independent meaning, meaning it's free from other words needing to help it to make you understand what it's talking about. However, this word is directly tied to a time frame. What are the three time frames? Immediate, past, present slash future. Why is it present slash future? What does that talk about?
It's happening now.
Because as we do it now, what are we going into? So you can't be in the present without going into the future. That's why it's present slash future. Now was a second ago. Right? So we're now in the future. Okay? So that's what it means. But immediate, when we say immediate, what type of word are we talking about? An order. Why is an order considered an immediate time frame? Come on, people.
Because it requires immediacy.
Because an order demands what? Immediacy, unless it's specified with what? A condition. Unless a condition is stated the moment you give the order, what is expected when you give an order? Immediate compliance, right? An immediate compliance in that particular time frame. If I tell my son, "Qum," if he didn't stand right now, Janice, what would you say? Oh, what a bad son. Boy, not listening to the old man, right? Why? Because it's understood that an order implies what? What if he was to tell me, I'll stand in next time, you know, when it's time for Maghrib. But I told you stand out. Yeah, but I'll do it later on. What are we going to think? Everybody's smiling. Nobody wants to say, BCW is going to get you, you know. Child welfare, you know, you're not supposed to teach the child anything that's going to keep him out of prison. So anyway, immediacy, an order implies immediacy. Then past tense. Give me a word that's past tense. Ran. Okay, we're back with ran. Okay, give me an order about ranning. Run. Okay, I had tried not to give you a word. Right? Run. Now give me a present future word. Running. Okay. All these are action words. Another definition of an action word is to say a word that denotes something happening. Something that has happened. Okay? That's what they say in Arabic sometimes. Hadith. Something happened. Okay? So, we go to a harf. The next type of word is a harf. What is a harf?
It's a word that points to a meaning.
Hold on now. You have to say there are three types of harf. The first thing you have to say, harf is not just one thing. Unlike these others, if ismun and a fi'lun, they have their own definition, right? Because and then there are different types of supernouns. There's different types of action words. But a harf, there are three different types of harf. There's not one particular type of harf that we're referring to. So if we're talking about that, we first have to sub over here and say there are three different types. Give me one. What's that? A basic letter. And the definition of a basic letter are those letters that make up, that are the smallest part of the Arabic language. And they make up the words. Okay? That's what a basic letter is. It starts with alifun and ends with, some people say ghain. It starts with abjad, hawaz, huttiya, kaliman, sa'fat, kurishat, thaqid, dadib. Or it starts with alif and ends with ya. If you say alifun, ba'un, ta'un, tha, jimun. And you go all the way down to ha, wa, ya. So that's a basic letter. What's the second type of harf? Letters with meanings. Give me an example. What do you mean? Like ta in front of a word, meaning you, right? Or ta at the end of the word, meaning you. Okay? Either way. Ta-ti or atayta. So these letters with meaning are singular letters that stand in the place of words. Singular letters that stand in the place of ismun. Because that ta at the front of the word, it's a word. It's an ismun. Right? Because it means anta, a whole word. Mu in front of the word is a ismun. That one letter, this is equal to ta, and the mu in front of the word is equal to man. Okay? Or alladhi, the one who, or who, that mu. The one who carries what? The qualities of the rest of the word. So when we have that word, for example, what is this? A Muslim. So this is the one who has alladhi, or the man alladhi andahu Islam. He has the qualities of Islam, right? So this mu or this ta, they come in the form of one letter, but they have the meaning of a supernoun, right? And there are certain letters that do it. Not all the letters do it. And they come in the form of this one sentence, a little sentence. We haven't gotten it yet, so we haven't really dealt with it too much. But al-yawma nasituha, or sa'altumuniha. Say that. Sa'altumuniha. And that word means you asked me about it. Okay? And that is all the letters, the word, that sentence, are all the letters that come with meaning. You see that? And we'll get to it when we get there. But those are letters with meanings. And they're also huruf. Now, what's the other type of harf? Connectors. And that's the main one, right? That's the one that most people think about when they say harf. They don't think about these other two. Most people study the language, and then when they get to it, they say, wow, I didn't know it was like this. If I'd have learned that in the beginning, I would have been better balanced. So, connectors. Now, what is the definition of a connector? A harf that is a connector. Come on, hesitation kills. It is a word that points to a meaning
In another word.
in another word. Key point. It's not a word that points to a meaning independent of another word, right? In and of itself. It's a word that is dependent. If the ismun and the fi'lun are independent words, meaning words whose meanings are independent of other words, right? In order for you to understand them, then a harf that is a connector is a word that is dependent on other words to help you what? Understand what that word is talking about. That gives a more fuller understanding. Or if we say it is a word that points to a meaning in another word, right? And is not connected to what? It's not connected to a time frame. Give me some examples. In, fi, which is in. Well, give me another one. Ila, rubba, maybe. Okay? These are good. These are examples. From, to, maybe, under, above, around, about. These are all words that are dependent on other words to complete the meaning of those words. Does that make sense? This is just a brief, okay, we go over this over and over again. Why are we going over this over and over and over again?
So it sticks in our head.
So that it becomes second nature. You're not learning this to hold up and think, I know it. You're learning this to say, I know this. I heard this 100 times. This is what it is. This is what it is. So that each one can teach one. Okay, so you can go on, and this is kid stuff. You can say, oh, just the language. Okay, let me explain it to you. And you don't have to go this way and that way. To spread the knowledge around. That's why we're doing this. Okay? So do your part. Do your part and memorize. Think about it. Come when you have questions. Because you may not always have the same opportunity to get this. Okay. Now that's our review. أسرع 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 ولد أعطيني أنت تأخذ واحد أيضا واغسله اغسل تحت. Okay, we are at understanding what the basic letters are, right? And since we're at the basic letters, because that's where we have to start. We have to start with the basic letters. Why do we have to start with the basic letters before anything else?
Because that's key to pronouncing.
Excuse me?
Because that's key to pronouncing any other words.
Right, because everything else is built upon the basic letters. Right? We can't go anywhere till we know all the letters and know them masterfully. So you have this poem ahead of you. It's called Hawaz, right? This one right here is the poem called Hawaz. I'll write it on the board. What letter are we on? Wow. We are on what? Wow. Wow. And it's pronounced like the English word wow. It's isti'jaban. Like you say, when you see something, the American people, they see something amazing. The Muslim says, Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar, Barakallah fi. But the kafir, or the one who is not accustomed to that, what does he say? Wow. Wow. What does that mean? Who knows? Besides isti'jaban, there's no barakah there. There's no blessings in that. But the Muslim says, Subhanallah. But it's pronounced like wow. Same word. Everybody say wow. Wow. And this poem says, wawun. Recite it with me. Wawun. The makhraj can be found. I got to catch up with you guys. Wherever someone's saying ow. Okay, now let's stop right here. Okay, we're going to go through this one a little bit differently and stop piece by piece. Everybody say ow. Ow. Here, he starts off by telling you where to find the makhraj. Let's go to a point. How many types of... What is a makhraj, first and foremost? Let's go review. Makhraj. What is a makhraj? Point of exit. Makhraj is from what word? The root word is kharaja. Okay, what's the root word? Then there's a ma in front of it. Ma on top of a word, what does that mean when you have ma before a word? Place. Ma means place, right? What are we in? Masjid. We are in a masjid, right? What does sajada mean? Prostration. To make prostration. So a ma in front of a word, ma means what? Place. So a place of prostration, we call it a masjid, right? Yes. That tells you what this place was built for, right? Yes. Okay. So here is a makhraj. Kharaja means what? To exit, to leave out. So a makhraj means what? It literally means the place that something exits. Since we're talking about speech, what would you call this word in English? No. Understand my question. Since we're talking about speech, see the Arabic word, what I'm trying to point to here is that the Arabic language, it touches every field you want to get into. Literal meaning is place of exit. Since we're talking about speech, we would call it the point of articulation. You might define that word makhraj as the point of articulation or the point of enunciation. The place where the sound is verbalized. Does that make sense? So these, words in English are used, and it's not tied directly to any one of them. But based on the context that you're using the word, you can use the word makhraj to mean any of those points. Does that make sense? Because that's the point where the sound comes out. And that's what a makhraj is. A makhraj could be the place that you exit a house. Your kharaj, the garage, is where that word garage comes from. It's from this word kharaj, the place you leave out from. So, a makhraj, how many types of makhraj are there? Two. There are two types of makhraj. Oh, I need some of that, please. I'll tell you. Because whenever we mention something, we have to go piece by piece and make sure we understand it fully. So the makhraj is the point of articulation, the point of enunciating a sound. There are two types in the Arabic language, right? There is one that is pinpointed, that we can pinpoint. And there's one that is vague. Okay? We have haqiqi, we call it haqiqi. And this one is ghayru haqiqi. Okay, one that is, you can literally put your finger on it, and there's one that's vague, you cannot put your finger on it. Now, give me an example of a pinpoint makhraj. I'll give it to you for time's sake. Ba, not ba. Say ba. The way you can protect yourself from saying ba is you practice saying bab. Say bab. You see it? You force it. Bab. Bayda. You open your mouth more. Okay? So, but you say ib. Now, غير الحقيقي means vague. What does the word vague mean? Somebody tell me what vague means in English.
Something you can't put your finger on.
Something is so spread, it's not exact. It's not so clear. That's what they call vague. So, the sheikh here, he's teaching you two principles. The first one is that if you want to know the makhraj of a letter, you put a sound before that letter, a or I, and you make that letter have no vowel sound on it. So everybody say eb. You see the bad sound, you find it there. Say ech. Now say ow. You see, that's what he did here. He said ow, so that you can find the makhraj. Can you find the makhraj of wow? Say ow. Is it pinpoint or is it vague? It's vague. You're very right. Why is it? Because you can't put your finger on it. There are three letters that are vague in the Arabic language. Alif is one of them. Waw is the second one. When the other one comes, it's ya. These are called the hawa letters. These they come with air. Okay, you breathe them. Okay, so he says, wawun, the makhraj can be found wherever someone's saying ow. And in that he's teaching you that the makhraj, you have pinpoint and a ghayru pinpoint, which is haqiqi, vague and haqiqi. Oh, I'm doing Arabic English. Vague and pinpoint, and haqiqi and ghayru haqiqi. We understand that point? And this one is not pinpoint. May I have this, please? أعطيني ثانية. أعطيني. شكرا. And like he said also here, it teaches you how to find any makhraj by just putting that sound a before it and making the letter sukoon. Wawun, the makhraj can be found wherever someone's saying ow. It's always in that gang yanmu. Say, it's always in that gang yanmu. Okay, there's so much in this, you have to pay attention, okay? They'll make idgham. Right after noon. Right after noon. Okay, now I'm going to stop here again. I have to stop on this line and I have to explain something to you. Everybody say yanmu. Yanmu. Yanmu is a word that is made up of letters that are part of a particularized group in the science of tajweed. Are we studying tajweed? No. Not here. Okay? So yanmu means yeah. Everybody say yeah. Noon. Meme. Meme. Wow. Say yan. Mu. These are the letters of idgham. And these are the letters, we call them, of idgham. So it says, when it says idgham here, idgham means dakhala shay fi shay. I'm not trying to teach you tajweed here or to confuse the issue, because all we're learning here are the basic letters, right? But in learning the basic letters, you have to know that wow is in that gang called yanmu. And yanmu is a rule in the Arabic language. It affects speech. It's a tajweed rule, but as a tajweed rule, it affects normalized speech. So you have to be more than just familiar with it. You should know that wow is part of what? Yanmu. And yanmu makes what? Idgham. Idgham means, when you go to tajweed, dakhala shay fi shay, to enter something into something else. So, as a rule, if you say in Arabic, an ya'mal, say an ya'mal, you see, the noon Afternoon here, it doesn't mean afternoon in the American afternoon in the English. It means afternoon is sakina or tanween. What is noon is sakin? The letter noon that doesn't have a vowel over it, or the tanween of fathatan, kasratan, or dhammatan. That's what it's referring to when it says afternoon. That means if a ya, a noon, a meme, or a wow show up after a noon is sakina or a tanween, it's going to have the rule called what? Idgham. Do you understand that? Now, dakhala shay fi shay means that something has entered something into something else. It's like if you have this roll right here, or a toilet, what do you call it, toilet roll thing? And you put your finger inside, you can't see it anymore. Okay? That's what idgham is. Adghamtu asabiya fi dakhil hada. I put my fingers inside this so you can't see them again. As a rule in Arabic, it's like if you say an, say an, ya'mal. You say an, ya'mal, right? See that? And ya'mala, does everybody see that? But in Arabic, you would not pronounce this because you would make idgham of the noon into the ya. And you would say ay ya'mal. Say that. Ay ya'mal. Because you adghama noon into the ya. That's why it says it's always in that gang yan mu. They'll make idgham right after noon. And also, if you have an alif and you have a noon here, this is idgham too. You wouldn't say al-nur, you would say an-nur. You see that? Say an-nur. You understand how we go right here? If you have min and you have ma, you don't say min ma, you say mimma. Say that. Because you entered an idghama hada fi hada. Because this ya, this noon, and this meme are part of that gang called yanmu. And whenever they get right after noon, they make idgham. And they enter each other. You understand that? And the noon sound gets eaten up. Okay? Sinwanun wa ghayru sinwan. Sinwanun wa ghayru sinwan. I can't think of one with wow right off the top of my head. I forgot the one I had on my mind. You know, astaghfirullah, innama shaitan huwa alladhi yadhkuruka, yani yansaka. The shaitan made me forget the one for wow when I was just talking right now. No, the ya is right here. And the one we need to get, I forget. So, you see, an ya'mal, an-nur, mimma, okay? No. I forget the one, right? Maybe it'll come back to me before the end of the class, okay? Inshallah, I'll make sure I write it down for next week, inshallah ta'ala. Unless someone can bring it up to my memory. I have to erase this. But everybody gets the point what I'm talking about here? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Who said no? لم تذكري سأذكرك في البيت. Okay. هيا أيوب بسرعة. شكرا. And it's really not my intention to try to teach you the tajweed rule, but just to get a basic understanding of what this rule is talking about. That was my objective. So, if that's if you can understand that, we can move on. Is that at least that part understood? Yes. What I mean when I say yadmu and idgham and right afternoon, that's what it's talking about. The reason why I say that is because here our objective is what? What's our objective? People, don't go to sleep on me. What is the objective here? No, to learn, but right now, this particular moment, what about the Arabic language are you learning? Just learning the basic letters. Okay, and everything you need to know about them. That specific, detailed understanding about that Yanmu rule, is it part of this science? No. It's tertiary. It's on the side. You'll learn that more detailed in what science? Tajweed. And the problem with a lot of people in learning is they mix up their understanding by going into something that's not part of the meat and potatoes of their understanding. Just becoming familiar with the word yanmu and know it has something to do with idgham, and you don't really know what that means, something about noon, that's good enough so that when you walk into a class of tajweed, you'll get an eye. It's not the first time I've heard that. I understand something about it, and you can get more of it when you study the tajweed, when he just basically does nothing but tajweed. You understand my point? Okay, so let's move on. What's the next rule? Wawun is 6 when counting lean. Say, is 6 when counting lean. I don't necessarily like writing numbers like this is supposed to write them out, but for time's sake. And jahrun, rikhwun, on the scene. Their brothers, Fathu, Istifal, and Samtun, holding all them down. Okay, let's go through this right here. Now, we know that when we study a letter, we learn a few things about the letter. The first thing that we learn about that letter is, or the first thing we learned tonight was the makhraj, right? So we learned the makhraj of a letter. We also learned the sifat of a letter, right? And the sifat is the description of the letter. We also learned the number of the letter, the numeric number, the numeral of a letter, right? We also learned what? What else do we learn about the letter? Tajweed rule. Hey, what's heavy? We also learn the tajweed rule, right? And sometimes we learn some words to help us pronounce that. Words in English that have the same makhraj and way of pronouncing, so we can do that in English. Here, we learned that also. We have the tajweed rule, and we have the makhraj. Now let's see what else we can get from here. The sifat and the numeric value. Wawun is 6. Everybody say that. We know that the numeric value for wow is what? 6. We can, if we didn't know it, we can just easily go down the list of the letters. We can just write, what can we write on the board? Not ah. Everybody forget this ah stuff. Is there a letter in the Arabic called ah? It's ah. Say ah. 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 So abjad. So then we write down ah, ba. Ba. What's the next letter? Jim. Not ta. Alif, ba, jim, del, ha, waw, zay. Right? Abjad hawaz. Right? Everybody say that. Abjad hawaz. Abjad hawaz. So all after writing that down, we write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And on each one of them, so alif is 1, ba is 2, jim is 3, del is 4, ha is 5, waw is 6, zay is 7. Easy. If you forgot, you can just easily write it down. And so we're at abjad hawaz. Abjad is the first king. Hawaz is the second king. How many kings were there? 6 kings. Abu Jad, Hawaz, Hati or Huttiya, Kaliman or Kalmun, Sa'fas, Kurishat, Thaqid, Dadig. Thaqid, Dadig are not kings. Okay? Those were the remaining letters that they put together so they can complete the alphabet. The first 6 were kings. All right? So Abjad, Hawaz, Waw is 6. So he said, Wawun is 6 when counting lean. He's playing a game with words. Lean, everybody say those words when I say them. Lean, jahrun, rikhwun, fathun, istifal, and samtun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's letting you know, when he says when counting lean, he's playing a game. Sometimes lean is not one of the sifat of wow. Okay? Sometimes lean is something that you will learn again in tajweed. A lot of the letters, the specifics about the language, You'll learn those things in Tajweed. After this, inshallah, we could do a class on Tajweed to understand all these terminologies and how they apply to. It's like saying ow. That's what that Tajweed lean is, stretching that letter from the word min khawf and those things like that. So that's lean. Jahrun, everybody say jahrun. What does jahrun mean? Loud. Okay? What does rikhun mean? Rikhun is weak. Okay? There are books that you can read while you're studying this course that will help you out tremendously. One of them is the book of Tajweed by, I think it's Muhammad. Very good book in English, and it talks about the Sifat. Tajweed book, I'll try to get the actual name of the book. It's an excellent book written in English about Tajweed, and it helps you understand these Sifat really well. If you read it during the course of this class, doing the basic alphabet, it would help you out tremendously. Or Easy Tajweed, it's a blue book. That's another good book that's very good in helping understand the Tajweed while you're taking a personal course. Okay, it's not really that good reading. A lot of these books are not written for you to be read by yourself. They're written to be read as coursework, helping you through courses like this one right here, inshallah. So it says, rikhun is weakness. Fethun, everybody say fethun. What is fethun? Opening. Opening your mouth how? Like a doorway, up and down. And istifal is what? To lower your tongue. What is samtun? Restraint. So now how does that come together in pronouncing the word wow? Say wah. Where's your tongue? No. Say wah. Now be conscious of all of these. Istifal means to keep your tongue flat in your mouth. Say wah. Where's your tongue? No. Fethun is to open your mouth as a doorway, up and down. Say wah. Don't say wah. You see that? Wah. Now say wah. You see how you round off your mouth when you say wah? That is incorrect. How do you open your mouth? Say wah. So that's it. Jahrun is to enunciate the sound in a loud way, while at the same time samtun is to show restraint. What does that mean? Holding the air in your nose. So say wah. And hold the air in your nose. Say wah. Say woo. Say we. Now don't show any stuff and let the air flow. Wah. That's incorrect. You see what happens when you don't show any samt? Samt is to control it, to hold it. Say woo. No samt. Now say woo. You hear? You feel that control you have over it? Say we. Just like you say we. We the people. Power to we. Right? Say we. Same word. We. You hold that air in. Say wah. We. Woo. Same thing. That's holding that jahrun is enunciating it and aloud, pushing the air out, but at the same time holding. That's why it says, and samtum, holding all them down. Samtum is what? Holding, restraining. Okay? So it's alluding to that point, trying to point that out to you. Okay? And that rikhun is a weakness because wow is not a letter that you can so much control. It's not like ba, ib. You said ij. Say it. Ij. Ib. You see, you can, those things have a lot more power, right? But rikhun, ow, it just goes. Once you say it, you can't stop it. Say ow. You can't stop it. It goes. You understand my point? And that's what this is right here. This is explaining to you how to pronounce that particular letter, wow. Do I have any questions at this moment? If there are no questions for me, what you need to do is memorize this poem. Think about and practice how to say this particular letter utilizing these sifat. Remembering to open your mouth, fethun. Remembering to be jahrun and at the same time showing what? Samt. Remembering also that to make that fet and not to make it round mouth, right? When you do fet, opening up and down. Right? And I said lean is only sometimes, so we didn't even deal with it so much because it's not always. That's why it says when counting lean. But the numeric value is 6 no matter what. It's just played that way so that you can understand it somewhat. Does everybody understand me? Am I talking too fast? Okay, erase the board. Hey, Antum. Now we're going to deal with another aspect of the Arabic language. Ala wa huwa al-ajrumiyya. Somebody recite to me al-ajrumiyya. And be quick about it. عليها يبنى مع كفاء وبحروف الخفض وهي من إلى وعن وفي وربا والباء وعلى والكاف واللام واو وتاء ومذ ومنذ ولعل مرة أخرى زينب أنت أيضا. I just want this one piece. فالاسم بالخفض وبالتنوين أو دخول ال يعرف فقف ما قفا وبحروف الخفض وهي من إلى وعن وفي وربا والباء وعلى والكاف واللام واو وتاء ومذ ومنذ ولعل حتى. Memorize that. Go over it and over it again. Make it second nature. That portion right there is everything you need to know about an ismun. Go anywhere in the world with that. And no one can shake you. And you will understand everything you need to know about an ismun. Now we're going to move on. فالاسم بالخفض وبالتنوين أو دخول الآل يعرف فقف ما قفاه وبحروف الخفض وهي من إلى وعن وفي وربا والباء وعلى والكاف واللام واو وتاء ومذ ومنذ ولعل حتى والفعل بالسين سوف وبقد فاعلم وتأنيث ميزه ورد. Okay? والفعل قلوا والفعل بالسين سوف وبقد فاعلم وتاء تأنيثي وتاء تأنيثي ميزه ورد. Okay? والفعل بالسين سوف وبقد فاعلم وتأنيث ميزه ورد. The سين is this way. بالسين سوف وبقد فاعلم وتأنيث ميزه ورد. Okay, now let me break this down to you. This one line, this is actually it's two lines, but it's considered one line of poetry. And it says, وَالْفِعْلُ. So we're dealing with a فعل. What is a فعل? كلمات دلت على معنى في نفسها ولم تقترن وقد اقترنت بإحدى ثلاثة أزمنة. Right? It is a word that points to a meaning. Complete it for me, guys.
In and of itself.
In and of itself. What?
And it is connected to a time.
And it's connected to 3 time frames. What are they?
Immediate, past, present, future.
No arms. Almost threw the pen at you. Immediate. What is it? Immediate, past, and present, future, right? That's what it is. So it says, a fi'lun. What it's telling you now, the same thing like it told you with a scene, with an ismun. It said an ismun. If you want to know what an ismun is, if you want to be able to recognize an ismun when you see it, what did it say you? Al-ismun yu'rafu bil-khafdi, right? Bil-huruf al-khafdi. It said, فالاسم يعرف بالخفض وبالتنوين. A tanween, right? What else? أو دخول الآل. يعرف فقف ما قفاه. وبحروف الخفض. And the حروف الخفض are what? من إلى وعن وفي وربا والباء وعلى والكاف واللام واو وتاء ومذ ومنذ ولعل حتى. This is what he said about an ismun. If you want to know an ismun, you'll learn those things, and those are the only things that you would need to know to recognize an ismun. Then he said, وَالْفِعْلُ بِالسِّينِ سَوْفُ وَبِقَدْ. If you want to recognize what a fi'lun is, if you want to know what a word is that points to a meaning, what? In and of itself, and it's connected to 3 at a time, then it's recognized when you see seen. What do you see? Seen. When you see seen in front of it, سَيَقُولُ سُفَهَاء. Sa. Right? When you see sa in front of a word, definitely, without any doubt, that word is what? Allah says in the Quran, sayaqulu. Sayaqulu sufaha. Right? And this sa in front of word, it means will. I will do something. I will do something. And then sawfa. Everybody say sawfa. Sawfa ta'lamun. Right? Wa sawfa ta'lamun. In the Quran, whenever you see seen, sa, it means it will happen in this world. It's happening qareeb. It's going to happen. It will happen soon. So sa means something, like if I say I'm going, and I say sa adhab. Adhab means I am going. Okay? In the present, future type way. Adhabu. Everybody say adhabu. If I say sa adhabu, what does that mean? I will go. Doesn't mean I'm going right now. It means I will go, and I will go soon. Inshallah, right? Sa'adhabu. Sa'adhabu. If I say sawfa adhabu, everybody say that. That means after a long time, not so soon. It doesn't mean immediacy. Sa points to immediacy, closer to immediacy, not immediate, but close. But sawfa, so if you see it in the Quran, sawfa, that's in the hereafter. You hear that? Understand that? So, I always teach you this principle. More letters means what? More meaning. More letters? More meaning. More letters? More meaning. So sa and sawfa mean the exact same thing? Oh, no, not the exact same thing. There's different implications. More letters? More meaning. So sa means in a short time, I will. And sawfa means in a longer period of time. Just like mudh and mundhu. So mudh means ma ra'aytuka mudh usbu. I haven't seen you since. They both mean since, right? But mudh is since in a short period of time. Whereas mundhu is a long period of time. But you can go home after not seeing your family all day and say, ma ra'aytuki mundhu sabah. I haven't seen you since sabah in the morning. And that shows that you missed them a whole lot. That it was a long time for you. Sheikh's going to write that down. Okay? So mundhu is like sa wa sawfa. Will and will for a long period of time. So fi'lu bisini sawfa wa biqad. Everybody say qad. Qad aflahal mu'minun or mu'minun. Whenever you see qad in front of a word, qad, first of all, as a linguistic term, qad corresponds directly to the English word already. What does qad mean? Already. No. Give me a full sentence.
Qad means already.
Qad corresponds directly with the English word. Say it again. Qad corresponds, or it carries the same meaning as the English word already, except that you use it in front of the word. قد أفلح المؤمنون. Say it. قد أفلح المؤمنون. The believers have already. See? In Arabic, they say already have the believers. But in English, we say the believers have already been successful, succeeded. But in Arabic, you put the qad before. The grammar places it before. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ قَدْ قَامَتِ الصَّلَاةِ. You see that? قَدْ قَامَتِ الصَّلَاةِ. We've already stood. And so it has two meanings in English. In the English language, outside of the Quran, in the Quran, when Allah uses it, it means ta'keed. It's emphasis that's already happened. Okay? But in English, when we use it, not in English, but when humans use it, qad means litahqiq wa taqreeb. It means something has already happened, or something is so close to happening that it's like you can't stop it from happening now. Like if you say it's time for Maghrib, you say, qad ghurabat ash-shams. The sun is already set. Oh, if the sheikh is outside and he's pulling up his card, qad ja'a ash-sheikh. The sheikh is here. He's arrived. But he hasn't gotten inside the building yet. But you see he's pulling up or he's coming down the street like that. You say, qad ja'a. You understand? That's litaqreeb. Or like when we do the salah. The salah is a good one. When we say, qad aqamat as-salah. We have already established the salah. We just called the iqamah. We just called the adhan. But in their language, that's so taqrib, it's so close, it's tahqiq. It's happened. Does that make sense? That's what it means as a terminology. In the grammar, whenever you see it, you will see it before, you will only see it before a word that is a, wake up, you will only see qad before a word that is a, louder, you will only see qad before a word that is a, louder, you will only see qad before a word that is a, will you see qad before an ismun? No. La. Will you see qad before a harf? La. You will only see qad before a word that is a. So in the Arabic language, when the scholars put down the rules, they said if you want to recognize a fi'lun, then no, a fi'lun will only, or a qad, or sin, or salfa, these are the only things that will come before it. Nothing else will they come before. So it says, وَالْفِعْلُ بِالسِّينِ وَالسَّوْفَ وَبِقَدْ فَعْلَمْ. So it says fa'lam, so then know that. From ilm, fa'lam. Okay? It's incorrect. Fa'lam, so then know. It's in order for you to know that. وَتَأْتَأْنِيث. Everybody say وَتَأْتَأْنِيث. This is called the ta that lets you know that it's feminine. Untha, everybody say untha, means female or feminine. Okay? So ta'at-ta'nith means the feminine ta. For example, fa'ala. Everybody say that. That means someone did something. Okay? But if you say fa'alat, say it. That ta you hear at the end, everybody say fa'alat. That is called the ta'at-ta'nith. That's to let you know that the one who did that was female or feminine in gender, because everything in Arabic has a sex. Every word. It's either feminine in gender or it's masculine in gender. For example, the sun can be considered hiya, she. Right? Even in American English they do that, but just not so often. When people call their cars, old girl. When they call their boats, they name them after females. But it's not so much used because America is a bastardized tradition. They have a lot of traditions, but not many people know from whence they've come. So they just utilize them without understanding where it's come from. It comes from the concept of words having sex and gender. And since English is a language spoken by people who don't understand it, you know, like Roger and John, all these words have meanings in Britain. A Frank is a guy who drives a carriage. Okay? So if you call yourself Frank, that's what you are. You know, it's those things like that. But we call anybody Frank, whether he's a chauffeur or not. But so they say, some people say, sociologists say that Americans are people who speak English who don't understand English. Okay, non-English speaking English speakers. But here in Arabic, it's clear. Every word has a gender and sex. Something or someone who does something has a gender. So if you have ta'at-ta'nith, that ta at the end of it, it's called the ta'at-ta'nith, and you will only see this on a fi'lun. Okay? You only see it on a what? So it's called the ta, everybody say ta, a ta'nith. The feminine ta. Ta, a ta'nith. Louder, guys. Everybody's tired, right? Okay. Mezuhu warad. Mezuhu warad is that this is the thing that distinguishes it written. If you write this out, you will be able to distinguish this. It's a short line. وَالْفِعْلُ بِالسِّينِ سَوْفُ وَبِقَدْ فَعْلَمْ وَتَأْتَأْنِيثِ مَيْزُهُ warad. Okay? Easy to understand. All it means is that fi'lun is recognized by sin, salfa, qad, and ta'nith. And the ta'nith is that ta that comes at the end of a word that lets you know that the one who did it. Say, everybody says, وَقَالَتْ. قَالَ. وَقَالَتْ. If I say قَالَ, who is that? Is that masculine? If I say قَالَتْ, that's female. How do you know it's feminine? The ta'nith. You see? And what do you know about that word qala? You know that it's a fi'lun. Or is it an ismun? Which one is it? Should there be any doubt? No. Why? Because it's
This is the rule.
What's the rule?
It's coming before the word.
That these four things, 1, 2, 3, 4, only come before a fi'lun.
Right, they all precede a fi'l.
Right. Because if it's an ismun, then can we say qalatun or qalatin or qalatan? No. Can we say al-qala? No. So, we can't say min qala, ila qala. Ghaliban, most times you don't find this in the Arabic language. So, these things are not, this is not an ismun, it's going to be a fi'lun. Is someone coming to call the adhan? What time is the adhan call? Another minute. Okay. أقول قولي هذا. Do I have any questions at this time? Excuse me? Yes, erase the board, boys. تفضلوا. No? Okay. You guys finished? Are you not finished?
Yes.
Hold on. انتظر. Okay, well they're gone. Okay. تفضلوا. اذهب. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم. السلام عليكم.